I'm happy to be here this morning. As mentioned, my name is Lauren Novick. I am the interim CEO at Jumpstart. We're an Ohio-based venture development organization that focuses on entrepreneurship as a driver for economic growth and shared prosperity. Clearly, in the work that we do, when startups and small businesses succeed, everyone benefits, including our communities. From shopping at a local Black-owned small business to launching a company of your own, each of you plays a very vital role in building a stronger future for our region and helping our entrepreneurial ecosystem thrive. I'm especially honored to join these esteemed panelists as the moderator for today's Entrepreneurship and Business Development panel. Today's conversation is all about professional growth, personal discipline, and community impact work, which together can shape a man's overall wellness. Our panelists, as you'll learn, are incredible leaders who have built successful businesses, led faith-based and community initiatives, and stayed grounded in their purpose. They're here to share with you their real-world insights on resilience, leadership, balance, and legacy, with a focus on how entrepreneurship can be the driving force for living a healthy, whole, and fulfilling life. I'd like to introduce the panelists, and at the end of the introduction of all three, then let's give them a round of applause. First, to my immediate left, we have Kevin Johnson, who is the managing partner at NextGen Interactive. Kevin blends entrepreneurship with social impact to build businesses that drive both community uplift and personal growth. He's a respected Cleveland leader who's very involved in our community, known for mentoring young entrepreneurs, advancing inclusive economic opportunities, and sparking innovation. To Kevin's immediate left, I don't even know that I have to do the introduction. It's been multiple introductions so far. We have Shakuri Shaq Davis, who is the founder and president of Next Generation Construction. Shaq is a visionary entrepreneur and the force behind one of Cleveland's top minority-owned construction firms. Known for his resilience and long-term focus, Shaq builds businesses that create real opportunity and support the community's success. To the far left, we have Pastor Larry Macon Jr. Pastor Macon is from the Mount Zion Church of Oakwood Village and is a pillar in the Cleveland community. Beyond his ministry, he mentors men on personal, spiritual, and professional development, helping them find balance and fulfillment in every area of life. Please, a round of applause for our panelists. So, beginning to focus on entrepreneurship and business development and how that fits into men's full life fitness, maybe starting with you, Kevin. At NextGen Interactive, you've successfully blended entrepreneurship with social impact. What lessons can our audience take from building businesses that support both personal and community growth?
So I'm a firm believer that, for me, I can't just do growing successful business. The issue really is, in so doing, were you able to help, were you able to benefit, were you able to assist others in being successful and making some of the differences that need to be made? And so I believe that as leaders, particularly on the business side, we have an opportunity to utilize our engagement or any success that we might have to actually integrate that success with making sure that the next generations have opportunities that we didn't have those opportunities sooner, have them and be more abundant in fulfilling your dreams and your objectives. So that's kind of how I go about it. And, yes, you have to have a successful company. I've been blessed to start 4 companies in my life, 3 of which are still running. And when I say running, I mean generating revenue. And there's a difference. And I think that success, if you would, allows me to spend some of the time that I have slicing that cake a little thinner, slicing it so that I'm out doing other things. Shaq and I get involved in some things that are, focused on making sure that as much as we can, we're in the rooms and we're bringing opinions and recommendations and suggestions and ideas that will shape what Cleveland looks like. And we're blessed to be in those rooms, even though sometimes it's hard to find the time to be there. But we're there, and I'm so glad you're there with me. Thank you.
No, and focusing on the businesses, obviously, that you've built, when we're thinking along the lines of discipline, resilience, taking leadership responsibility, with those three topics and issues in mind and characteristics, what advice do you have for those in the audience today?
My. Well, I can only tell you how I kind of go about it. And I use a core of maybe a four-legged stool. And you have to develop your own. For me, it starts with faith. It really is about my faith in Christianity, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's my focus. That helps me with the parameters with which I do what I do. Maybe more importantly, I don't do what I could. Family. Family is the next important thing to me. And I have extended family because, relatively speaking, I have a small blood family. So my family extends to folks that you wouldn't necessarily think of. Close friends, yes, but also the communities with which I represent. So that's family to me. Finance. Finance is critical because, if you don't have that, it's difficult to make a difference. It's difficult to be an example. It's difficult to sit here and have this conversation. So we really want to make sure we have finance. And then last but not least, some of you know me, philanthropy is critically important. The issue of what you did to make a difference. What did you do to help the lives of others? What did you do with respect to your time, your talent, and your treasure to engage in such a way that you create something as an outcome that's greater than just your business or your personal success? Faith, family, finance, and philanthropy. Those are my core four. Those are the four legs to my stool that I sit on. And that's kind of how I center the work that I do and how I go about my day-to-day and my Larice was talking about your strategy. That's how I even go about my legacy. It's about what difference did I make in the opportunities that were given to me.
No, thank you, Kevin. I hope everybody wrote down the four legs of the stool that Kevin just mentioned. And I think it's going to segue to a question for you, Shaq. Obviously, you've built your construction firm. You've built something lasting. You've built your legacy. What practices or habits on a day-to-day basis do you use to stay focused and successful? And this could be in business or just in day-to-day life.
Thanks, Lauren. So as you can see, I love sharing a room with my friend Kevin over here. He's a great mentor. But for me, so I have a core five, so keep those pencils and pens going. The first one for me is acceptance, right? I found a way to, get past, I didn't grow up on the right side of the track. Racism exists. Sexism exists. Didn't go to school with anybody who's ever going to give me a leg up. All of those things. Okay, now that we got that out the way, what's the plan? So accepting that I do have a lot of defaults that's against me and putting together a plan is something that I believe in getting to that plan a little bit faster than most is a habit that I definitely keep in play. The second one for me would be, which is a biggie for me, would be helping other individuals and finding pleasure in helping other people. It's a big difference there. I'm a nerd for that. I was up the other hospital because I love UH. My core clients is Cleveland Clinic, UH, Federal Reserve Bank, and Metro Health. But another institution asked me to mentor someone else, and when the young lady came to me, 49% of her company was owned by, someone else who didn't necessarily look like her. So I put together a 2-year plan, helped her put together a 2-year plan to buy them out within 2 years, so she can own 100% of her company and also scale her business 300%. And she did that in 2 years, right? So the gratification that I've received just gassed me up a little bit more to keep it going. Then 3 more points real quick. One would be jump without the rope, right? You're never going to have the complete picture, right? Sometimes you got to take faith and jump without the rope. The third one would be appreciating the body of work that you got to put together to get from A to B. That's the real value, the prize that's inside the Cracker Jack box. Appreciate the process of actually getting there. And then the last one would be, kind of do what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later, right? It's always a plan that needs to be in place, and just appreciating that journey.
So, on the heels of that last point you mentioned, being an entrepreneur is hard. As you mentioned, just in life, you have to push through life's challenges, life's sacrifices, but specifically as it relates to entrepreneurship and trying to find some semblance of a work-life balance. What sacrifices have you had to make to be able to succeed and thrive, which will also be important for the audience to hear about, to understand the journey that entrepreneurs do go on?
Great question, Lauren. So for me, you hear 10x, 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 right? It's constantly going across the web. Well, I 10x'd, right? I took my company in 5 years, $3 million a year to almost 50 million a year company. In 3-4 years, I plan on being a $100 million a year company. But with that, it comes sacrifice. One is being present, right? I'm not always present, right? Because when you're scaling and you're trying to build something, a legacy, I'm 2 years, 3 years. So my family definitely sacrifice, because dad isn't always present or husband isn't always present. Another one is doing what I want to do, right? Spending my own money. Larice talked about all those bosses you got going across there, right? Between your lawyers, employees, accountants, right? Your bonding company. Those are individuals I got to consult with before I want to go write a check. Hey, I got this money in the bank. I want to just go spend it. No, it doesn't work like that. You got people that actually depend on you. And then the last one for me would probably stem with, I would say the last one for me, just it would be my time. I didn't really want to use that, but it's so cliche. But I come from a poor family, and I make such a big difference, in other people's lives, and not necessarily being able to spend that with, some of the people who need that. So that sacrifice that I make, that's something that I live with. That's a little bit challenging, right? Because I want to make that impact over there, as much as I do in other places. So it's definitely a sacrifice.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe it kind of leads towards talking about spirituality. Obviously, Kevin touched on it, but it is challenging being an entrepreneur, and there's got to be an inner strength and an inner power that guides you through that. So, Pastor Macon, with that in mind, obviously, your role reaches deep in the community and deep within each of us to give us the strength to be able to endure the journey. How can churches and community organizations help guide those in the audience towards holistic wellness, balancing the personal and the professional and the spiritual?
I think the biggest way that churches and communities can really help in guiding is being a place where people can be vulnerable. I think the challenge is a lot of times nobody has a place where they can just be honest about their situation, be honest about what they're going through, and really receive the support. I know in my space, that's the biggest thing that I try to do to those that I serve, is to make sure that I'm an ear for them, someone that will listen to them, but also somebody that will provide support. I think these two gentlemen gave one of the greatest things, I believe, when it comes to getting to these next levels, is you have to walk by faith. You have to see what you want to be before you become it. And I think that's the challenge in these days, is because people lack the faith or the belief. But I think, as you can see, a lot of people make it to greater heights when they start to believe. You have to say, I am that 10X before I get to that 10X, like Shaq has made it. And so I think we as communities, as churches, as those, we need to be that support system where you can be honest. This is why I'm lacking. This is what I don't have. This is what I need. And, even in my space, what I try to do is bring those tools, those people, those resources to this community place where they can make sure that they receive the help that they need. And then they also receive somebody that just says, I believe you can do it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that one person or that one group of people that say, hey, I believe you. I believe you can make this happen.
No, I think it's an important point, is that being a leader of faith in the community is a form of mentorship, right? We think of mentors traditionally as those that maybe are in the career space and guide us, but spiritual mentorship is equally important. And although we don't think of our spiritual leaders as mentors, they very much are. And with that in mind, we just talked about how to balance work life, right? Whether it's entrepreneurship with what's going on at home, that's challenging. So let's add in a third thing to balance, which is faith. So talk maybe about how to think about balancing work, life, with the perspective of keeping faith in mind, again, to use as that spiritual and motivational guidance to drive you on your journey.
I think as you walk this life, you'll figure out that the things that you thought were important in the beginning are not as important. And I think a lot of times we lack the mindset to know what is most important. I think if we would learn to rank what's most important at the end of everything, I think that will help us when it comes to balance. We'll realize what should not be neglected, because in the long run, it's going to hurt you. And I think a lot of times we just don't have the forethought. But if we really think about ranking, what's most important to me at the end of the day? Is it the bottom line, or is it my health? Is it the bottom line, or is it making sure that my family is well at the end of the day? I've been a great father, and husband, or whatever it may be that you are to your family. I think sometimes you need to step back and really realize what's most important. And I think it will help you figure out where that balance needs to lie. Because you can have every resource in the world and still be miserable. Yeah. And so you have to realize that priority and knowing what's priority in your life is one of the main things that you need to work on.
And I think that, and I think that speaks to what Larice was saying, right?
Yeah.
Which is, you can have all this wealth and all this money, but if you don't have health, you're not going to be able to enjoy it, and you just created this opportunity for yourself that you're not going to be able to take advantage of. So being able to balance that is critically important. So Shaq, if you give one piece of advice to those in the audience who are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs and debating about taking that leap of faith in life, what is that one piece of advice that you would give them, and why?
That one piece of advice would be, know the season. There's so many individuals out here who believe that the world is revolving around their idea, instead of your idea needs to fit into what the world is already doing, right? You can't be sowing seeds and it's the wintertime. You can't be harvesting when it's time to plant. So doing your research, understanding what's going on, the economy around you, how it's moving, how it's working, the ecosystem that you want to fit inside, right? Everybody has a plan. Mike Tyson had the best saying, right? Everybody got a plan until they get hit in the mouth, right? That was Mike Tyson who said that, right? So understanding what season you're in is extremely important. Your plan might be perfect. A comedian, they have the time. I love experts, right? Sorry, I get going, right? Kevin Hart in particular, right? He know when to hit that next joke, right? So, being in tune, being on the right frequency of everything else in your ecosystem. So I made the extended version, but know what season Be able to read the room, do your research, look at the news, look at everything else to see what's thriving in your ecosystem. So, sorry, that was a
Oh, absolutely. Pastor Macon, what are your thoughts on advice for the room about becoming entrepreneurs?
I think making sure that you pick the right thing. Like, what is your passion? What is it that you know you do well? What is it that you can pay attention to? And just know yourself. I think a lot of times we try to get into business ventures or relationships and things that we just do not have a talent for. You really got to know what you were brought on this earth for. Why did God create you? Because everyone here is unique and everyone has a unique talent. And if you can capitalize on what that unique talent is, nobody can stop you.
Kevin?
It's probably hard for me to give just one. So I'm going to give two, and I'll try to be succinct. One is, and it's probably a summary of what you just heard. Aim and then shoot. If you decide to do this, because this is not for the faint of heart. What we do is not for the faint of heart. Think hard about whether you want to really do it. It sounds like it's all that in a bag of chips, but the path to do it is difficult. And you really have to aim, and that aim capsulizes a lot of the things that Shaq talked about in terms of your market research and understanding your skill set and understanding the timing and understanding your differentiation, your value proposition, all of those things. We don't do a good job with research. We think that we know how to do something well and we're going to get out there, but we haven't researched the market. We don't know what the business plan needs to look like. We haven't developed a financial model inside of that business plan for sustainability. All of those things, aim and then shoot, okay? And then the second thing I would say for brothers is, look, who you marry is important, okay? I will sit here and tell you that I would not be here on this stage. Now, I'm not going to exaggerate. I'd be okay. but I wouldn't be on this stage probably without that core good decision, because that's a journey that you're on that is an inclusive journey. It's an inclusive journey. You have to have someone who is with you. That is arguably the most important decision you'll make. And I shared this. My wife put me on the spot at an event maybe a month ago. I'm sitting there minding my own business. She's being honored. And she put me on the spot and said, "Don't you have anything to say?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't, but since you brought me into this," one of the things I said to the group of women was this. I said, I told my wife, I have 2 degrees. You have 2 as well. Don't leave yours at the altar. And what I meant by that is, I'm not marrying you to bring just a pretty face to the picture. I need your talent. I need your capability. I need your skill set. This is a partnership. This is, my wife likes to keep up with my calendar. I said, look, she expects me to know what her calendar is. I tell her, clearly you should see after all these years, I can't keep up with mine. I don't have time to keep up with yours. We're just busy. We're doing it, but we're in sync. Different circles, but we're in sync. And we're in sync because our core goals and objectives that even was talked about earlier when Larice was talking, our core goals and objectives align. Our faith aligns. Our understanding of relationship aligns. I'm not there as the boss running everything. Men, we don't run everything. But I have somebody that I don't have to worry about who runs what she runs. My view is I got 20%. Don't mess with this 20%, okay? You know what my 20% is, and that has to do with stability and money. You got everything else, but I trust her because she's got the understanding and the knowledge to run and do anything and catch me up when she needs to. That decision is probably a core decision that a lot of people don't think about. And I say this because it's a men's conference. Brothers, That's a decision that will ride with you for the rest of your life and dictate part of your health, part of your wellness, part of your success.
Lauren, my wife's going to be mad because I didn't say that.
You didn't say that either, yeah. Kevin got the faith and the wife all in the panel. He got the two big ones right away.
But we roll together, so
That's
it's
right.
good. It's good. I got you.
So
Got you.
I do think when we talk about wellness, maybe I'll chime in here for a second as well, which is in entrepreneurship, and this may sound a little bit nuts, but because it is to be an entrepreneur, you have to enjoy the grind of the day-to-day on some level. And it was funny because when Shaq used the quote, I started thinking about what quote stands out if I'm going to give this piece of advice, and it's really the Iverson quote, right? Practice. We're talking about practice. Come on, it's just practice. But the reality is that we all will enjoy the end result of being an entrepreneur if we're successful. We'll all enjoy, right? I mean, the fruits of our labor, the successes of hitting maybe a revenue milestone, having many people work for us, having an impact in the community. But there has to be a part of you that enjoys the day-to-day on some level, even the most tedious, time-consuming, aggravating things that happen when you're an entrepreneur, because that is what's going to still drive you on a day-to-day basis. We aren't all driven by destinations. We have to be driven by the journey as well. So understand that being an entrepreneur is challenging. And just like we all do when we would practice for games growing up or practice for anything related to speaking or any big commitment we have, you've got to enjoy the prep as well and the work that goes into it. So certainly keep that in mind. But we would be not doing what we're supposed to if we didn't embrace the social media generation here, given that we've given you a lot of thorough answers to questions that you've hopefully written down. But we're going to finish up by having each one of the panelists give you just 10 words or less. How do you live a full life? 10 words or less, so that you can take those away, write those down really quickly, and continue to repeat those in your mind as you go on your journey here. So, Kevin, we'll start with you. 10 words or less.
To be succinct, I'll do it in one. Balance. I think balance is critical. Life is complex and complicated, and balance has always served me well. Those 4 legs to the stool serve me very, very well. I think balance is important.
Check.
So mine would definitely be in business, and I just got to get a backdrop too, like Kevin did, only because he did. Because so many people will come to me with an idea. So mine would be 10 words or less. Really, it's 9. It would be in business, love numbers as much as you do words.
That's good.
That's great. Pastor Macon?
Oh, boy, this is a tough one. Very tough one. I would say one takeaway would be, from my context, love God and love people. That's it.
Thank you. Well, Pastor Macon, Shaq, Kevin, I'd like the audience to get another round of applause for their time today, their great feedback, their advice, and hopefully, again, it was educational, informational, and motivational. So we hope you enjoyed that. Thank you.